Hello and welcome to Relate, Relax, Release. I'm your host, Aji, and I would like to get straight into this episode today. No funny business. Shame. Secrets hold all my expansion. And I really want to bring you into a current shift that's going on internally for me and in my life. And I'm going to read you a lot of what I wrote down because a lot of this was divine download. A lot of this was through the introspection and the healing that I'm actively doing. And so I'm just bringing you into the space, my inner standing of self. So a lot of it will be me reading to you a lot of my journal, actually. So if you can relate, hold the space, because this is what helped me relax into my grounding authority of self. You know, shame is a funny thing. We think it's this heavy, dark thing that we're supposed to hide from, bury, or cover up. But the truth is, shame is a mirror, a key, a reminder that there's something inside us waiting to be loved, not erased. For me, shame stands for secrets hold all my expansion, or my evolution, because it's in those very heavy things that I once wanted no one to know, and the things I thought people would walk away from me for, I've actually found my deepest sense of liberation. Today, I'm not here to give you a perfectly wrapped up how to do. I'm here to be raw and share my raw pieces. The moments where I didn't know if I'd escape or make it out of the darkest parts of my mind. The truths that truly cracked me open, and the lessons that I'm still learning right now. Because right now, I am in a major timeline shift. I've had so much hindsight and revelation, and I'm in this wild stage where the old timelines and the versions of me who made choices from hurt, fear, and scarcity, they are tugging at me. They don't want to let go. They're whispering. They're like, come back. This is who you really are. You don't deserve to stand in your power. You can't stand in your power because X, Y, and Z. You made this choice. You lived this experience. And for a long time, I definitely used those narratives within my own mind and my lived experience to co-sign my experience. Like, I used those narratives in my own mind in the context of my lived experience to dictate my own lack of worthiness. If that makes sense to you, we're on the same wavelength. But if not, just sit with it. Like, the mindset, the low vibrational energy suggestions, and the lived experience combined is like the holy trinity of chaos. And that's what had me co-signing and using that as a permission slip to live in a resonant state that isn't truly from a place of grounding, love, and stability. And in this current state, my soul is speaking through that holy trinity of chaos, and my soul is saying, no, that's who you were, but you have the ability to go higher once you spread love into those chaotic situations, choices, spaces, timelines that you wanted to live. And you have an understanding, and you carve an understanding, self-compassion, self-love, and free yourself from inner judgment and then therefore judgment of others, you will connect with the divine. And so my soul was telling me this, but it's like a lot of us fight our inner knowing. Like, you all have an inner knowing. We all have an inner knowing, a true soul voice. But a lot of us fight it. I want to talk about claiming your inner standing. I've been thinking a lot about what this means to stand in your inner standing. It's not a performance of power, not that puffed up, forced decisions, trying to prove yourself and that in this world you've got it. Because I was definitely there. And really not even for that long. Like, if I'm looking at the timeline of my life, I was there for like a snap of a finger. But I also know I needed to be there for a reason, to learn from it, and I have. But standing in your inner authority and your inner power isn't an external thing. I've been there on that side of the external thing, and that space is where you're trying to be powerful instead of just being the power within. And it's exhausting. Honestly, it's very exhausting. It's draining, and it's not rooted in truth. And really co-signing that illusion for some time can actually be really fun, because you're already pairing these chaotic, the trinity of chaos, you're already co-signing it with that. So it can feel really enthralling and amazing, but that illusion never lasts. And that's where you have to understand and go to your context of whatever connects you to a higher power, God, Allah, creator, highest power, and what connects you back to the understanding that's going to ground you and prevent you from living in a state of an over-actualized ego. Because you can still have power within who you are, but understand your ego and still give it love instead of judging your ego. Now, your inner standing is when you feel it in your belly. That's why the saying, trust your gut, even exists, because your inner knowing truly comes from here. And this is your solar plexus sacral energy, right? Your solar plexus is you knowing who you are. Feeling, I do is your solar plexus. I do know, da 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 da. And your sacral is like, I create, and you express, and the energies that excite you. And so you need to have a strong sense of inner standing in that energetic space within you. And it's really truly an understanding that you are held by something greater than you. I'm going to say that again. It's the sense that you know that you are held by something greater than you, not that you pass it onto something else. Like, for example, in my culture, if you're Gambian, you'll understand it's like Yala Bahna, which has truth to it. But then there's a way to stand in the authority of knowing that with your own conviction, in cohesion with God's will, is what will get you places. Not just taking your power and putting it onto something externally outside of you. And I think for a long time, for myself anyways, I know that I did not have a trust in the divine. The divine is not a stranger. It's something that you cosmically, biologically know, but because of our lived experience and our literal existence manifesting separation, and separation has great things in it as well. It's not all just bad. Separation is bad. No, separation is a beautiful thing because we chose it. God orchestrated it this way for a reason. So leaning into that as well. But I know that for me, that was hard to understand and to grasp for a very long time. Sometimes I was super religious and I was forcing myself to pray and that also is not trusting. It's still trying to grapple and grasp and then put all of the external pressures onto something higher than myself without actually understanding my inner standing. There's been times where I've grasped at relationships, opportunities, and timelines, and that attachment comes from the abandonment and the separation wound that everyone has. Everyone has a separation wound. But my abandonment wound co-signed my inability to detach when I knew in my soul and had an inner standing that it was no longer a vibrational match to the timelines that I want to create or that my soul is telling me I'm supposed to be in, and that the divine is trying to orchestrate and I'm resisting. And here's the truth. That attachment is literally just the manifestation of your lack of trust in the divine. That's it. And when you finally decide to see it for what it is, you can loosen up your grip and surrender. Have patience, sabr. Whatever it is that resonates with you. But when you finally allow yourself to release your grip, I struggled with it for a long time. And as humans, we're designed that way. But when you stop trying to force the picture, manipulate and control, there's a at the end of the rain, at the end of the storm. There's a silver lining in the cloud. I don't know. You know what I mean. And once you surrender control, you'll see so much more within yourself and others. And now that brings me to the empath and narcissist relationship, which I know a bit too well. Actually, a lot of us know too well. And it's the empath and narcissist. For years, I thought that I was just an empath, the feeler, the giver, the one who could see someone's dormant potential and hold space for them to bloom it. I've learned that sometimes the empath and the narcissist is the same exact energy, just expressed differently. A great creator, Ebony Davis, shared a bit about her revelation in this. And when she said it, I was like, yeah, I had the same download this week of understanding this is why I'm even being able to see these contexts, even in people really close to me, even in myself, because the empath and the narcissist are the same energy, two sides of the same coin. One seeks control through domination. The other seeks control through saving. Both are rooted in fear. Both are rooted in fear. Still that lack of trust in the divine. Both rooted in the same thing. And here's the hard part to accept. Seeing someone's potential does not mean you should stay attached to the situation or the person and the potential that you see lying dormant within them. Potential is not the same as reality, and fixating on someone's dormant potential or seeing their highest version and like trying to help them see it, well, 9 times out of 10 they're going to see it as you judging them. That's number one. But number two, you're trying to control and you're trying to project something that is literally not reality. You're just seeing and being hopeful and understanding the laws of energy and that you could help someone to that, but they have to co-sign that and want it. They have to want to activate their potential. But you seeing that dormant potential and not accepting reality is your mistrust in the divine, your mistrust in the anointing that's over that person's life through the divine to do it however they need it done, not you doing it for them. And so I realized that on that empathetic scale, I've definitely stuck around too long when that's not someone's objective. Everyone doesn't want to live at their highest potential. I know I lived at my lowest potential for a long time and I said enough is enough. And your highest potential it has nothing to do with career and achievements, nothing. Your highest potential is an energetic imprint within you and your ability to actually connect above you. If they're not walking towards their own healing, you can't drag them there. You cannot drag someone from their dormant potential to their highest self if they don't want it. Because if you do that, you will lose yourself. You will lose yourself in that equation. And I did that. I did that hoping, attaching, trying to control, help, suggest, put so much energy into it. And when it finally was no longer in harmonic resonance with what it is that is for my highest potential, it just shifted away with peace and love and so much compassion and understanding for why I had to experience that and see it and then see myself and understand myself and just know it's something that a lot of us exhibit. It's the same energy, narcissist, empath, 2 sides of the same coin. Now, the next part is the download that I had actually today, just like connecting all of the dots, preparing for this chat that we're having. And, you know, what I really realized is for a long time, I've been tapped into the collective. Right? With clairaudience or any ability to have knowing senses externally from your inner standing and just having heightened senses, whether you call it empathy, whether you call it clairvoyance, clairaudience, whatever it is, the knowings, the seeings, the feelings, the understandings for self and others. But I have been deeply connected into the collective for so long because of the primal states that I was experiencing my existence in. The abandonment and the lack making me think that I needed to understand everything and everyone, which means that largely if I'm tapped into the collective and wanting to help everyone and save everyone without it coming through divine channels, you can't hear. Guess what you can't hear? The most important thing you can't hear outside of God. The single most important thing outside of the most high source creator energy is your Nafs, is your crown, is your mind. Well, technically not your mind, your soul, your spirit, different energy. Your mind is its own energetic thing and your spirit and your soul is something different. And so when you can't hear your inner voice, your inner knowing, your inner standing, your soul, your Naf, it makes it harder to trust yourself. It gets quieter, the voice gets quieter, the voice gets quieter because you are fighting your inner knowing. You create disharmony, you create soul fractures. You create fragments within yourself because you keep creating the lived experience of, I can't trust myself. So guess what that becomes? That becomes a belief. Then you believe that you don't even know if you can trust yourself. You have to ask your friends, you have to ask this person, that person, the same story to get the advice. And then you kind of feel what you think you should do, but then you don't know what you should do because you're not listening to your inner voice. You have no grasp of an inner standing. And I'm not saying you, I'm just talking from personal experience. Never think that I'm speaking anything I haven't lived. But sometimes you just need to hear it and you're like, yeah, I have been doing that. Even me hearing it aloud, I'm like, whew, girl, you were there for some time, but that's okay. You got to give it love. You got to know that you were there for a purpose. You got to know that it was forming who you are and how you know now that you don't want to live in that overwhelming and exhausting state. It's like literally trying to hold the ocean in your hands when you do that. And then you layer that, for me, this is what I had layered with that. That already sounds very chaotic. Then guess what I layered it with? Needing to be liked, the fear of judgment, and you just become a hot mess. I was a hot mess. I was a hot mess trying to have it together. Truly, honestly, that was me. And my existence was kind of showing that. Like, so much chaotic things were unfolding in the last year, and it just makes sense because the inside needed some clearing, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with knowing that I had a lot to learn, and I'm still learning, and I will forever be learning. That's the whole point of Earth. Earth is a school. You are a student. I'm a student, and I always sign my prayers. When I write my prayers out, I say, with love, your Earth student, Aji. So just knowing that you're a student of this game that is life. But yeah, the people-pleasing, the approval-chasing version of me, it just creates a dissonance, and then you have no real sense of home because you haven't even created a home within yourself. You keep living a lived experience that fractures your own trust in yourself, and that is so important. That's why I said last episode, your choice is the single most important thing that you can do. And a lot of the chaotic things that have probably circled back in on me is at the power of my own hands. And so you need to pray to God and ask the divine supporting beings, angels that God created to come in and help you. The divine infinite spirit of the Most High created angels to actually support you through your journey. Call on the angels to actually come and help you through whatever it is that you're going through, and then take it to God and ask them to take it to God. Because if you don't have safety within your own body, you won't have safety in your life. You'll have chaos, you'll hate your job, and for me, when I was in the state of not really having home within myself, this is where manipulation comes in, because when you aren't fully resonant within yourself, you try to manipulate your external situations, and that can be confused with manifestation. You shouldn't even want to manifest things until you clear out your limiting beliefs, because that will be a whole other topic. I think I said that in the last episode as well, but we will get into that. When manipulation comes in because you have these portals of space within yourself, because you keep fracturing your true resonant state, and not the villainous type of manipulation, but the kind where you play both sides of the fence. The kind where you abandon your own authority to keep the peace instead of standing grounded in who you are and what you know is right. And sometimes because you're trying to keep the peace, you're co-signing that it's right on both sides of the story. You're just trying to keep the peace and you're being passive, and you're not even being in authority with what your soul is telling you. You're just telling your soul to be quiet because you're just trying to be an empath. Emphasis on trying to be, and then seeing that and then understanding that you can still be gifted in being able to help people, but then do it completely wrong. But then you got to learn, you got to then become a student to how you cultivate that. And this is where the next segment comes in of the unveiling. And this part is a little bit sticky for me to talk about because I'm actually in the uncovering of it right now. But this is about me honoring truth and living truth. And so I'm going to bring you in. I have been abandoned, as you know. That's nothing new. It's not even that grand of an energetic draw for me. It's just the truth of my story. And I've also been sexually abused as a child And I didn't even realize until I wrote this that my subconscious was actually recreating those circumstances again in this later chapter of life. After a portal of grief opened me back up, and then all of these little tiny fractures of mistrust and lack of home within self, I fell back into these old belief systems, because when you don't have anything else, your mind is going to pull from your lived experience. So beliefs of unworthiness, which we tapped on earlier, and having to unlove and expecting loss, like expecting it and then literally manifesting that, manifesting energies that are just not necessary, and not realizing that comes from chaotic internal state. And people will co-create with you because you're vibrating that energy in. And an overactive mind, a very overactive mind, definitely grappled with overthinking. And we can talk about how I stopped that cycle at a later time. But an overactive mind that kept me living in survival. And when you're in that place, your life just hands you mirrors that force you to look at yourself. You can keep trying to believe the illusion, but the mirror is going to look at you in your face. And the funny thing is, when I moved into this apartment, I put these mirrors on the wall. If you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify video, these mirrors on the wall were reflective of self-reflection. I wanted the apartment to speak to how this is like my zen, my oasis, to come back to inner self and to create a home so that I could feel safe unraveling that. And it's just funny because you never really know everything. It's just interesting how that self-reflection is presenting itself to me, but I had the intention of it. So I guess in essence, I created that vibrational statement. But yes, life will hand you your own mirrors to look within, and not because you're being punished, but because the divine energies and the highest power is saying you need to remember who you are, but first look at the choices you've made, and how do you come back to the remembrance of who you are, and how do you erase the debts that are created from those lack choices? How do you atone? How do you sprout out a new vibrational statement into the collective? And if this doesn't make sense to you, please feel safe and empowered to comment so we can chat about it maybe in a different way. But I hope that it does resonate with you. And to be honest, the unveiling process is messy. I've stumbled over self-compassion, and I've wrestled with forgiveness, specifically forgiveness of self, because there's been so many of those moments where I didn't trust the divine. I was even resentful or angry, like, well, why is this happening? Why would God leave me in all of this, and trying to figure it out on my own? Definitely lived that experience. I'm not too shy to say that. But in the process of the unveiling, the answers come, but you have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to be still, and you have to really, really reconcile with yourself from a space of unconditional love. And that one, the unconditional love aspect, is still working its way into my bones, but it's coming. It's coming through, and it's honestly been such an enjoyable experience. And I'm like, dang man, I should have let go. I should have trusted myself. I should have listened to my inner voice. I should have listened to my Nafs, but I couldn't, and that's okay. So the choices in the now, that's what's most important, the choices in the now. And one thing I've been sitting with lately is, what do you choose now? Literally, simple question. I am here now because when you're grieving, what did you choose? When you had nothing, what did you choose? When you were terrified, what did you choose? And for a long time, those choices were not in symbiosis with the divine. It was in symbiosis, in cohesion with fear and with instant gratification and the need to be liked and people pleasing and all these layers of things. They weren't in high vibration. They were in low vibration. They were low vibrational choices. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just need to sit and understand that you made a low vibrational choice, and that is rippling into your life, and you've got to still the pond. And now I'm not saying that to shame myself. I'm not saying I was low vibrational or can be, because you're human. I'm human. You can never not have that experience, and you just have to foster understanding and actually heed to the calling and actually figure out your inner standing so you can stand in your authority. When you stand in your authority, guess what that is? Internal and innate power. Once you have that innate power, you are vibrating higher. But when you aren't in your highest potential actualized, when you're in your lowest potential, you make low vibrational choices. And that's why I'm saying Low vibe, high vibe has nothing to do with external factors. It only has to do with your internal resonant state. And I had to admit the truth before I could even begin shifting. And it's something I've been aware of. I've been working with shamans, healers, my personal development coach, and really creator of a space to hear the word of God, which I needed. I needed that connection through community. And so seek those things. Also, find real help, like get a therapist, get a life coach, get someone that can be a sounding board and a safe space for you to develop out loud and have a safe space and understand and not internalize and be mean to yourself, but actually love yourself and stand in that and move forward. And that's where shadow love comes in. Because here's the thing. If you damn the darkness, you're still operating from a space that isn't healed. Your darkness is not your enemy. I'm going to say that one again. Your darkness is not your enemy. It is calling you in to look here. It is calling you in to understand, to understand. Your darkness is your teacher. It is. And if you pass on that responsibility to someone else to take care of you, to allow you to bypass you standing in your own authority and you standing in your own highest potential, then you rob yourself of the real experience of being student and teacher. Because if you're still operating from that space, then you aren't healed. Not that you could ever be super healed, because I believe you're always healing and learning, but you can be stable, balanced, neutral, and peaceful. Your darkness really isn't your enemy. I just really want that to sink in. It is quite literally just your teacher. And it holds the keys to your balance, because once you unlock it and you look, you'll find your balance. You'll figure it out. And I think about the yin and yang symbol a lot. I think about it. I don't even think about it. It actually comes to me, especially when I meditate. I'll see the yin and yang symbol. And I think that that is a huge statement for my life testimony. I think I've always known I've got pits and peaks, but now I'm understanding why I have pits and peaks. Now I'm understanding, oh, I can teach the light because I know where I came from. I know what forged me, truly. I don't run away from it. I actually sit in it sometimes. But you've got to be able to and willing to do that, to truly understand yourself, not escape through going out, drinking, alcohol, sex, or relationships that are comfortable because you need it. And that's just the truth. I used to have a really close friend and we'd always say, I'm yin, you're yang, which was in aspect truth, but it robbed the true essence of understanding duality resides within. You are duality. You are both good, bad. You are both dark and light together as one, and you weigh the scale. You have the scale and you've got to find equilibrium. And there will be chapters of your life where one is higher than the other, and you aren't to judge that and give it a false metric. It's just about how do you return back to your equilibrium and your balanced state. Ooh, mic drop. And that's where your evolution lies. That's where true expansion lies. Because it isn't about erasing either one of those sides. It's about learning to dance with them. You've got to learn to dance. Dance with the dark. Dance with the light. You gotta shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. You gotta shake it, shake it, shake it. You have to learn to dance with it, dear. Dance with it, darling. And once you learn to dance with them, the truth will set you free. It might annoy you first, but it will set you free. And that's what I call shadow love. It's not just the work of always having to fix something, because there's no truth in needing to fix. You aren't broken. You just need the inner standing. And loving the shadow and seeing it and thanking it for protecting you, because ultimately it was formed for a reason. It was formed to show you something, to teach you something, to give you space to come back to self, even when those ways no longer served you. And that brings me kind of to the closing of this. I used to think that I knew a lot, that my experience made me wise beyond measure. Now, in some ways, they have, yes. But the deeper I go, the more I realize that you can never really know everything. You can go deeper though, now with the divine, now with the energy of wanting inner standing and expansion. Because remember, depression, low vibe, it's just contraction. It's like a breath, your lungs expand, contract. It's about learning that. Learn to breathe. Let yourself breathe. And understand every time you expand, you gain knowledge. Every time you contract, you gain knowledge. Let it happen naturally. Don't then go make choices that make the contraction more and the expansion. Don't do that, but surrender to that process of expansion and contraction. Know that your experiences will teach you everything, but you are always student and teacher. And that's the beauty of this thing that we call life. Every moment is a new chance to choose. Every moment to choose what resonates with you. Every moment is a new chance to stand in your authority, grounded. Every moment is a new opportunity to surrender to the divine. So if you're listening to this and you feel pulled to your old timelines or a lot of the situations, contexts, or people from those old timelines, you don't need to be haunted by the shame of your past. You just need to be able to sit with it, understand, and then release. Maybe that involves conversations and maybe it just doesn't. Because 9 times out of 10, it's just about you. Let this be an invitation, a permission slip to just breathe. Just breathe. Box breathing is really good. Box breathing is so helpful for me. That's what grounds me instantly. It's this technique of breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, inhale for 4, etc. Box breathing. Look into it. Stunning. Breathe. Breath is so important. Release your grip. Remember that your evolution is not out there. It's within you. It's the dance between your light and dark, like we touched on. It's in the offer of love to yourself when you think you are least deserving of it. What offer of love will you give yourself? That choosing in that moment is when you stop putting that external pressure onto someone else and really understand that it comes from within you. Because shame, secrets holding all your expansion and evolution, isn't just an invitation. It is a doorway. It is a chance to move forward, move in, elevate up. You don't know what's on the other side of the door, but you've got to open it and look. Remember that your secrets don't have to suffocate you. They actually can set you free. I hope this helped. I love you. I'll see you in the next episode.